you're out there in internet lands and can let me know if any audio video sounds goofy, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just proceed as normal. So it's on the Periscope. It's on YouTube. It's on, what's the other one? Twitch. So any of those, hopefully it works for you to join wherever you happen to be watching from. Welcome to this little informal hangout chat. So Jay just voluntold. No, I didn't force you to do this, did I?
Well, you did subtweet me pretty hard.
I guess by nature of the fact that your day job is troubleshooting people's problems with the actual internet connections of some sort, you're an ISP tech support dude. So
that's right.
I guess, yeah. I guess I'm thankful first of all that you volunteered some of your downtime to do what you do for free. I'm not paying you to be here. I don't know if you know that, but
oh, nuts!
Just in fame and internet notoriety. But so, what? Tell me a bit about yourself. As much as you want to say, day job, your family, your home, your life.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I've been doing tech support for a living for, I'd say, over 10 years at this point. For a few different companies, did mostly ISPs, but I also worked for AppleCare when they were in Saskatoon for a while.
Oh, nice.
And before that, dabbled in web design, wasn't very good at it. I'll leave that to you.
I'm not very good at it either.
Yeah, settled down, got my kids, doing the geek dad thing, teaching them games and all that.
Nice. Yeah, and you're well, thank you for being a Good Stuff Patreon supporter as well, patreon.com/goodstuff. So you're in their Discord and also on Twitter. Are you giving out your Twitter handle? Is it secret?
No, it's not secret. Action J, got an underscore in there.
Yeah, action_J on Twitter. You do a lot of, you tweet a lot about, or not a lot, but you tweet when you are doing some game playthroughs and stuff. So it's been fun to sort of read along. So what are you playing these days?
Right now, I am almost done with the Shadow of the Tomb Raider because it launched on PlayStation Now just last week, I think, or possibly last month. Might be a little bit behind. But it's been pretty fun. When they rebooted this franchise 2 games ago, they turned it into like an open world Assassin's Creed kind of game, which is absolutely my jam. And then it just got better over the last 2 games.
Nice. You don't find in the midst of like this is something that Nick or I complained to Nick on our 25 Cent Arcade podcast, just like the open world formats. Like I'm playing through Breath of the Wild right now. And often it's like, especially with kids and limited time to play, although you seem to have a magic schedule that allows you to play a little more. But I often find like I dive back into one of those open world games and it's like, I can't remember. I spend like half an hour trying to remember where I am. And then half hour later, someone's crying or is pooped the bed. Well, not literally, but, and then I lose my place again. So is it like you do it consistently enough that you keep sort of up to date on what's going on and where you are in the world?
Yeah, usually I get up super early in the morning. I get like 20 minutes to an hour in before starting my day. And if I'm doing it on a daily basis, I don't really forget where I am or what I'm doing. But also with an open world game, there's so much to do and everything's so dense that you can turn around every corner. There's something that you're doing to move your progression forward.
Nice. Cool. So in terms of the pandemic, obviously video games help a lot for some of us to sort of deal with everything, all the things. But what kind of ways, like you've got a few kids and your partner, I think, and so you're like all hunkered down.
That's right.
What's life like in the J household?
Well, we're trying our best to, keep a schedule to keep our sanity. Like I'm still insisting that everyone gets dressed on weekdays at least. We have our, you have to have breakfast, you got to get dressed, you got to do your brain wake up, which is what we're calling our homeschooling. So I sit the kids down, they've got their own laptops where they'll do like an hour or so of Prodigy, which is an online math game that they love. And then some online reading lessons that were put out by Scholastic a couple weeks ago.
Nice. I'll have to check out Prodigy, not like the old internet provider Prodigy. Wasn't there one like?
No.
That's before your time, maybe.
Oh, I remember Prodigy. Yeah. I was there for that.
Nice. Yeah, it's like your kids are basically there. And are they old enough to be in like doing like Google Classroom stuff that some of the education folks are doing, or is it just like sort of you're on your own right now?
Both. Yeah, both their teachers set up Google Classrooms. And it's pretty neat. They're putting out just a tiny bit of content. When I first saw the email that they put out, I thought that it said that there's going to be like 5 to 7 hours a day of stuff that they're supposed to be doing, but it's 5 to 7 hours a week instead. So it's a lot lighter than I was expecting.
Yeah, that's what we've noticed too, and especially obviously depends on the kid's interest or desire to get stuff done. But I know our oldest kind of got most of his stuff done within the first day, basically, and so then he was kind of free to hang out for the rest of the week. But yeah, to varying degrees of success with the other two, depending on their interest in whatever. So, and then how's like so balancing work? I know I saw through Twitter and stuff you've been able to work from home now, and
Right?
how has that been affected? I guess how does that affect your home life balance and stuff? Besides the
It's
obvious.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I've been wanting to work from home for years. They kept saying like, "Oh, there's no way to set it up. It's impossible," until this whole thing hit, and suddenly they're marching us out with laptops like a week in. Um, so I have a fairly small. It's technically a storage room in my apartment. It's not soundproofed. I don't have like batting on there, so I've probably got a weird room tone going on. But at the very least, like my kids caught on very quickly that if the door's closed, you stay out, you stay quiet. It's super stressful on my wife trying to keep them quiet. It's like if there's a problem, like one of them's a screamer,
Right.
and it will last for about 20 minutes. So that hasn't happened during a call yet, but
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I might, for that matter, get a screamer or somebody coming in here threatening that another brother or sister is about to kill them and need to be rescued or whatever. So it could
Yeah.
very easily happen here. That's the fun of live radio or live internet TV or whatever this is called. Hey, Justin Jackson out there in internet land. If you got a question for Jay, feel free to pop it in the comments. Jay and myself will do our best to pretend we know the answer on this quick troubleshooting the internet with Jay. Yeah, it's a weird one working from home, and especially is there sort of the assumption that you're like if you're on a call with a customer who's troubleshooting their internet or whatever,
Right.
are they aware that you're at home, or are you supposed to sort of hide that fact? Is it kind of like pretending like everything's normal, or is it okay? Like,
It's sort of assumed in our
yeah, it's
current
got that point.
situation that
Yeah,
everyone's working at home. So they'll ask at the top of the call, and if I say yes, and we're like, "Oh, good for you that you got to do that," because not everyone got to.
right. So generally supportive, and it's not like you have to try and like. Obviously, you don't want your kids screaming in the background, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world if someone barges into the room and forgets
That's
for a
right.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because it is. I think that everybody was kind of in that boat initially with for the first few days too, where if you especially if you're any sort of client services or dealing with people calling you or anything like that on a video call for that matter, and you're just kind of like don't know if this is going to be okay if family interrupts, and pretty quickly I think everybody's kind of realized that we're all in this together and we're all dealing with being a teacher and trying to do the jobs that we were supposed to be doing before, while also yeah, maintaining our kids' lives, sanity, whatever,
Yeah.
something, something sort of like normal. So yeah, my kids are either on the trampoline or about to kill each other on the trampoline, or out playing hockey in the driveway, or about to kill each other with a hockey stick on the driveway, or fighting over something in Minecraft. Is generally what, besides schoolwork and eating, that's what they do all day. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if you've got questions about whatever, anything related to the internet, feel free to pop it into the chat wherever you happen to be, and hopefully I'll see it. I know I'm seeing the Twitch ones, and if there's Periscope or YouTube ones that are coming through, and I'm not seeing it, send me a tweet or something, because I'm iChris on Twitter, and I might not have all the parts connected here, but at any rate, one of the questions we had was from a mutual friend of ours on the internet here, who is dealing with some small town internet blues, and you can be as specific as you want, obviously, in how you respond. But I know it's a common, especially now, and I've seen some really awful responses from the U.S. Education folks who are saying like, "Sorry, that's just the fun of being in rural areas if you don't have good internet." And even though we've transitioned everything to internet-based schoolwork, you're on your own. And I'm sure a lot of folks are dealing with what before was kind of like a novelty of having slow internet for Netflix. Now trying to deal with slow internet with their school, having everything online. And so what kind of calls, I guess, or what kind of resources have you seen pop up for families like that?
Oh yeah, it's a common call that I get when you're out in the boonies, like either just on a farm or in a small town where the the technology isn't there yet. So you've got just your basic internet. And what can be offered really depends on what sort of infrastructure improvements are going to happen, either have already happened and you're not aware of it, or happening in the near future. So like one thing that is relatively frequent is I will pull up someone's address and see what sort of internet plans my workplace provides. And it turns out that they've actually gone a few higher up than they expected because those infrastructure improvements have happened, but they weren't aware of it. So I know with DSL, there's pair bonding, or VDSL bonding they call it now, which effectively can double your speed. So they run on 2 lines of the copper instead of just one. And that's rolling out. Don't have the exact plans, of course. I don't make the business decisions, but hopefully, we'll see faster speeds in those rural areas sooner rather than later. Especially now, there's going to be much more demand for it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. One thing I know, and Justin, yes, he works for a local telco, I guess, or internet provider, is as much as we can say. And deals with a lot of the tech support issues for said provider. So I know one thing I've run into too, and with family or friends, is I'll go and check and look at the modem or the router that they got provided by the company, let's say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whenever they might have signed up. And do you know that, is it either if they bought their own wireless router for their house, let's say, or called the company, one of the companies that they get internet from here in Saskatchewan or wherever they are for that matter, and is it worth looking into just getting an upgraded modem router for their home? And that might just be enough to actually bump up the speed as well.
That can help in some situations, like say you subscribe to a higher speed, but you're not able to get it because of the physical limitations of your router. Like if it's only doing 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, like that was invented before streaming video was a thing. So you're going to be lucky to get more than 10 megs throughout the whole house, even if you're on like a 20 or 50 meg plan. So yeah, if you pop over to a retailer like Best Buy or Staples or order online a dual band router, switch over to 5G wireless for any devices that support it, and you're off to the races. It's really good. Yeah, I did that in my own apartment, and I love it.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's what I was. I've been stymied by. I'm with a different internet provider than I think you work for, but I was trying to share. Plex is an app that allows you to sort of media storage app, and allows you to have like a computer set up as a media server basically, and then play movies or videos or whatever off of that device. And they're all completely legal, and there's nothing wrong with any of the movies or videos that are on there. Let's just say they're all home movies for that matter. And I want to share those with a friend of mine who has a house, nearby in the city here. And Plex has that ability built in where you can actually share that media over the internet. They get a login to your server, but said internet provider that I'm with, and probably yours would be similar too, they don't really make that super easy. And as far as I can tell, the easiest or the best way to do it is actually to buy my own router and have them put the modem that they provide in bridge mode, I think it's called, where it's basically almost like neutralizes, just like a pass through to the router that you buy. And so now I'm debating whether it's worth spending $200 so my friend can leech home videos off of me, but that's another matter for another discussion. Justin said the built-in routers seem to be a lot better these days, which definitely I've found to be true. But I still wonder, like there's the whole mesh network thing that you hear about, and I'm not by any means in any sort of large house where it probably doesn't even make sense because I have decent internet throughout my house on Wi-Fi at 5G, and so I really don't need to do it. But every so often you're at the edge of in one area of the house or the other, the sort of end of that network reach, and wonder maybe if this show would stream a little bit faster if I had one of those mesh network router thingies that provide. But there again, you'd be needing to put your thing into bridge mode, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, like if you're setting up your own mesh network with your own router and your own access points, you got to bridge the modem first to make sure that all the traffic can come in properly. But yeah, the ISPs in Saskatchewan are starting to provide those as well. Like I know Shaw they call them the Blue Curve pods. You can get them in packs of 3 and pop them around. Yeah. And it steers around them. And SaskTel's in the process of coming up with a solution. I think they're starting to advertise it, where they're going to have their own sort of kind of a basic mesh where there's a couple of access points throughout the house, and will smartly steer which one your devices are connecting to based on their signal strength.
Right. Yeah, actually, I had the blue ball, whatever they call it. Those
Blue
ones.
curve, they call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Crypto Geek, by the way, old Crypto Geek, I guess, to be technically accurate on your username. I had one. We had those, and actually, the only problem with them is that they are, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is what went wrong with them for us. They are 5G only, which is great usually, except then we started adding some like smart home devices, light switches, and whatever to like with a Google Home Mini, and those only operate, at least the ones we were getting, probably the cheapest ones. They're only on 2.4 gigahertz range, and so you need a dual band router to support that. And at least Shaw's solution for their mesh thing has to be 5G. And so effectively, it was kind of like, do we want the Google Smart or the smart home stuff, or do we want Wi-Fi everywhere? And again, because our house is smaller, we went with having the convenience of being able to shout at our light bulbs. But that's a bit of an annoying thing. And I'm sure that's going to be solved in the next iteration if it's not already with some of the smart home products that are probably 5G enabled. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with Shaw, like their core router is dual band, but they give both networks the same name, so you don't see the difference between them.
yeah,
But if the pods are only 5G, then you only get the reach of the 2.4 from the main router. So it really depends on where you install it in the house.
yeah, it took a bunch of like troubleshooting phone calls with your counterparts over there to really troubleshoot the issue.
Right.
So Justin was just saying what's ironic to him is how much better Canada's internet is than places in the USA. Often even small rural Canada has better internet than San Fran, Chicago, NYC. Canada internet is better than USA internet. Yeah, Justin deals with podcast hosting. He runs a podcast hosting platform, and would definitely hear from clients, I'm sure, who are trying to upload their amazing podcasts to his service and dealing with really slow upload speeds, because often folks don't realize how slow their upload is compared to their download. Netflix HD or whatever might stream just fine, but then when you actually go to upload your MP3 of your new Star Wars podcast or whatever it happens to be, it
Right.
times out or takes forever because they've really capped the upload speeds because they don't really want to have to, I guess, pay for that or whatever. So are you seeing, I know I've seen reports of this where I don't know if it's at the ISP level, but definitely at the like YouTube, et cetera level, the services, web app services are sort of capping speeds to try and like mitigate some of the demand the internet is actually getting as a whole, like around the world even, where they'll cap like at HD instead of allowing 4K or things like that. Is that something that's happening at the ISP level, do you think, or is it kind of like left up to the devices?
The headlines I've seen is that is being done proactively by the services themselves. Like Google is defaulting YouTube to a lower resolution. They're defaulting Stadia, which is their game stream platform, to a lower resolution. I think Netflix is looking into doing it too, but it's going to start getting, people get mad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to stream on their 4K TV and it's only running at like 720, right?
Yeah. All of us poor folks with big TVs and watching at low resolution and
Mm-hmm.
and it is funny that we feel like we're living in this age of like so much bandwidth and so much internet, and yet obviously now with the change of all these kids effectively being at home and the home internet services taking a bigger hit, I guess, and watching a lot more stuff on TV or on YouTube, et cetera, and Twitch and things like that, where those platforms I'm sure are seeing huge numbers in terms of viewership and things like that, or Zoom calls or whatever for that matter. But I haven't really noticed any sort of slowdown or any sort of issues at the level that we're at. But I'm sure, there is a scale when you see the data and the analytics across, a country or whatever. It would make a huge difference to cut that bandwidth down. So, any other like tips or tricks for folks who are at either with internet speeds or just stuff you've dealt with or had fun with in terms of the pandemic response in life?
As far as a pandemic, no. Just a couple just general like tech troubleshooting the internet things though from the files. First off, on top of internet, I also troubleshoot TV. So I get a lot of calls from people who just don't know how to operate their equipment. Like there is a percentage of calls that we get that is just people who have their TV on the wrong input. And that's been true ever since like cable boxes have been a thing for like 20 years. So for anyone out there listening who is just the least bit tech savvy, I implore you to teach your loved ones how things work. Because if they can solve that sort of thing themselves with one button press, they can save themselves like 20 minutes or an hour of their time and someone else's time having to call in to be coached through pressing that one button.
Yeah, the input. That's like once TVs switched from like, I know back in the day when I remember having like the first Coleco or Atari or whatever and bringing that home. My dad brought it home and it was like somehow we had to switch from like the antenna feed to this weird RCA plug in the back of the TV,
Right.
and like figuring that out. And then if I didn't switch it back and, you know, my dad was trying to watch some hockey later that night or whatever, and I was in trouble for, for not, but now like TVs, yeah, I have like so many inputs, and sometimes they like, I know on our TV, it has like that arc mode or whatever, where like we happen to have the switch hooked up to that. So if the switch turns on, it knows to automatically switch the input for our kids. And so that's not a big deal for them. But similarly, I know for my parents too, it's like if I leave their house now, even today with, you know, having watched something on their Apple TV, let's say, not that I'm at their house because we're doing the social distancing thing, but
Right.
yeah, then I get a phone call later that night with their TV's broken and they can't watch anything on TV, and yeah, troubleshooting inputs, which it feels like such a basic thing, but it almost like it needs to be like a physical switch on the wall beside the TV that you have to go crank to like move, because it's yeah, it is something that just gets lost on a lot of people, not just my parents' age, but lots of folks I know. It kind of just like, it's just a TV, so why isn't it showing what I want? And
Right.
yeah. Justin had a question here. How concerned should I be about what my 14-year-old might be torrenting? Are ISPs tracking that stuff? Are they going to send the police to arrest him?
All right. So Justice of Canada, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Let's say he is somewhere in Canada.
There is an official page about this. I think the CRTC hosts it. What the process is right now is the ISP gets a notification from the rights holder and is bound by law to pass that notification on to the person who is identified as having that same IP address. Whether or not that's actually you, we can't say for sure.
Right.
And we're not going to pass your information off to the rights holder to say, here's who they are, go sue them. But the notification that you receive also invites you to contact them, which you don't have to do. Because once you do, that's you saying, oh, yeah, that was me.
Right.
It's not necessary. So you can discard them. There's no law right now that's allowing them to, make up court orders to identify you in order to do a big class action lawsuit against the people watching their content.
Right. Yeah, which let's just say we're both not lawyers, obviously, first of all, or in law enforcement or anything like that. So as much as you might feel protected, Justin, and anyone else out there, don't assume. But let's just say I heard from a friend who downloaded a show, and there's like ways to obviously use VPN, so it looks like you're coming from your ISP or your internet IP address, is coming from Amsterdam or somewhere else, right? And then if you forget to turn that on, let's say, and download a show, particularly if it's from somebody like an HBO, who are very, let's say, like legalistic about their content, then you might get an email from them, or at least passed on from your internet provider from them, like you were saying, that reads very terrifying, actually, and is probably enough to stop you in your tracks for a little while anyways, until you sort of connect all the dots of like, well, maybe they can't actually do much yet. But yeah, so just, it does happen, and be aware of that, I guess, and pay for your content is all I'll say. What's Just Watch? I see you're putting that in our notes.
Yeah, I popped that in there because if you can help it and you want to be on the up and up and pay for your content, it might be available to stream online, but you just might not know where. So justwatch.com is a place where you can go. You can pop in the title of whatever it is that you're looking for. It'll let you know where you can get it and how to pay for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's just showing that on the screen here. I think, if you use Letterboxd to watch movies, like I do, track movies, letterboxd.com is a cool app for sort of social media for movie watchers. They integrate with that, so you can put a movie on your watch list that you want to watch, and then it actually will show you using Just Watch where that, in your country, wherever you happen to be, where that actually might be available for you. And because it is like, it's overwhelming trying to figure out where all the movies might be if they're not on sort of your default Google Play or Apple Podcasts or iTunes, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a handy one to check out for sure, and keeps you on the legal side of things. So Justin, you can pass that on to your son or yourself, whoever it might be that's actually downloading Game of Thrones or whatever. Yeah, he said I may or may not have received one of those warning emails. It's a terrifying one so I've heard. It's a terrifying one to open your inbox and see the HBO contacting you about a thing that you just did a little while ago. Is seeding looked at differently versus leeching torrents? And is an old crypto geek asked on Periscope. Do you know? I would assume from a legal perspective, it's probably the same. Although again, like in Canada, where it's not, there isn't anything they're going to officially be able to do to you or about what you're doing. But effectively, you're grabbing content and sharing it in some respects. I remember used to hear about that in Canada, where it was okay to, like, if you were the one hosting it somewhere, but if someone else came and grabbed it from you, that was the illegal part or something like that. Do you have any advice there?
Yeah, I think like what gets the rights holders in a tizzy isn't so much the fact that you got that for free and are watching it for free, but that you're providing it to other people for free. So when they put out like fake torrent seeds, or they'll actually host the seed themselves and watch who grabs it and then watch who hosts it after they've got it, and those are the ones that they come after.
Yeah,
so
kind of like the bigger fish in the pond.
Yeah.
Right.
So to protect yourself, if you're doing that, which again, don't do it if you can help it, find some other way to do it. But, put yourself behind a VPN, change your settings so that you're not hosting those files, or delete them after you download them. Seeding torrents is, it's considered to be good manners, but that's in the sense of torrents that we actually want to be out there and be freely available to people. So things like if you download the torrent of all of Overclock Remix's music, which they put out there for free, and if you seed that torrent for them, they're grateful to you for that.
Right, but whereas the folks behind Game of Thrones aren't so excited that you're using it.
That's
And I
right.
think even at the ISP level too, right, it kind of makes sense. If you think about it logically, you're using their bandwidth to effectively download a show that you should be paying the ISP sort of TV division for, as well as HBO, as well as whoever else. Or in the case of Justin, as he just said, My Little Pony. So whatever show it is. Yeah, it makes sense that you'd be... I'm actually surprised that the ISPs aren't doing a bit of... content shaping or whatever it's called, or even just outright blocking. Because I know they kind of went through this a few years ago where torrents were kind of like blacklisted or whatever, and kind of had to fight the legal battle of like, well, there's a lot of legal stuff or like stuff that's okay to stream or to torrent. And so we're back into sort of this gray area where it's allowed, but kind of frowned upon, I guess, with emails, finger wagging emails of sorts. So
yeah, years ago, I used to be the guy who had to send those emails. It wasn't specifically for people who were torrenting, but we were still in the age of we had limited resources for bandwidth, and if someone was hogging it all and they did over like 10 gigabytes worth of data in a month, I'd be the one who had to look at that spreadsheet and send out emails to those people.
And you had to pretend like you didn't know exactly what they were doing, and they knew what they were doing, but you can't really spell it out. Like,
yeah.
Justin just said, "Is this show not really available anywhere?" The Racoons, which I feel like wasn't there like a reboot of this just recently?
I think they were going to, but I don't know if they went ahead with it.
Yeah.
But props to Racoons. That was a great show back in the day.
All right. Any other final comments, Jay, before I'll leave you? I'm aiming for half an hour for our troubleshooting sessions. So,
okay.
Any other final tips before we go?
No, I think we pretty much covered the questions that we did get.
Okay.
And everything that I want to talk about there.
And we covered. Thanks, Justin, for tuning in and answering some questions, asking some questions, and good luck to your kids on surviving the isolation period while borrowing things from the internet. I'm aiming to do this every Wednesday, so if you want to subscribe wherever you happen to be watching, Periscope, Twitch, YouTube, random guest every Wednesday. We'll do this Wednesday afternoon. Time sort of varies depending on their availability and my availability that Wednesday. But I've actually I put out a call on Twitter for folks who want to pop on and chat. And I've got, I think, the next 3 weeks filled up right now with folks who are going to pop on and chat with me about whatever happens to be going on in the world and the internet, and answering your questions if you have them. So feel free to subscribe, follow along, hit the bell button, whatever, all the garbage you have to do just to get notified when you actually want something on the internet these days. And thanks, Jay, for joining me this week in the second sort of episode, I guess, of this.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to you for watching, wherever you happen to be in the world. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.